it taking over the world? I think the answer to that question is yes, but I don't know why. So I have got the perfect guest on today to explain what AI is, if it's going to steal your job, and everything else that you and I together are going to learn. Before that, I was at a Zara a few weeks ago in London. I didn't even get a receipt, you guys, for this dress that I bought. It is the weirdest thing. It was a self-checkout at Zara. I didn't get a receipt. I couldn't return the dress. They told me to contact Zara on WhatsApp. I spent 3 hours on a Saturday messaging them, trying to explain to them why I didn't get a receipt because I typed in the wrong number and I can't return the dress. Is that AI? Is that an Alexa Curtis problem? Still have yet to figure out which one. At what point you may not have the job that you expected out of high school or out of college, sales or selling makeup in stores, because is this all going to robots? And more importantly, is AI a robot or not? So before I get into this episode, I wanted to encourage you to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, Stay Fearless or Die Trying. I love this newsletter not only because the name, I mean, shouldn't we all stay fearless or die trying, right? But because I've been able to help so many people through my premium subscription. For $15 a month, you not only get a coaching call with me, you get a free media list. Cost of that is $20. You get a free entertainment contact list. Cost of that is also $20. You also get access to really unique content, business, upskilling kind of content that I have never posted online. And so I've been able to grow a really strong following of premium subscribers because honestly, it is pretty cheap. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been doing this for a while, but I've never seen anyone charge $15 for a call. That's how much I want to talk to you guys and help you guys. So whether you are like Lauren, who is my newest premium member, and she is just out of college, she studied HR, now she hates her HR job and wants to start a fitness company. Or maybe you're like Tomas, he was a tech startup founder, has a very big tech startup, and now wanted to go more into the personal health and wellness space on Twitter. And I've been able to hopefully, I think, because they keep coming back, help them scale and figure out their personal brand and niche. So make sure that at the bottom and description of this episode, you click on subscribe and you'll get directed right to the free and the premium version of Stay Fearless or Die Trying in your news inbox every single Saturday. So this week I've got on a guest, as I mentioned. He is the co-founder of a company called Guidde. Guidde is a really cool AI tool because if you're like me and you fucking hate always repeating yourself, and don't get me wrong, I forget everything, so I'm constantly asking people to repeat stuff to me, and of course I'm that person who's like, just because I need it repeated doesn't mean I need to repeat it to you. I'm like totally selfish in that way and totally okay with it. But Guidde has honestly really helped me with my business. It's a free tool, it's a plugin. It's a little bit like Loom, but I like it a lot better. I also oddly like the icon a lot more. I am definitely the kind of person who buys stuff at the grocery store just because I think it looks cool or it looks fancy. And the Guidde icon as a plugin on my laptop is just that. But without further ado, let's welcome Dan to the show. Make sure that you also download Guidde at the link in bio or follow them on social media and get ready to really upgrade your business life. No more repeating stuff to your employees or to your teammates. Guidde is there to do everything for you along the way.
So I think AI, it's been around for many years. It's really, you could think of it as an enabler. It's just like the cloud was an enabling technology. It's a means to an end. And every company in the world has to have an end. Like, what's the value that you're providing? AI is a method for you to deliver that value. It's not the value. Maybe at some point in time it will be the value, but right now, like with when we have like AI that's AGI and people, and you'll actually be able to converse with an AI like a human 100%, but we're still not there. So we're using, and us and many other companies are using AI as a means, as one of the means to deliver the value that we have to our customers. In our case, these are B2B customers. We're selling to other enterprises, other software companies, and essentially helping them make their products better. Well, I don't think from childhood. I grew up in two countries. So I grew up I spent most of my life in Israel. I grew up, parts of my childhood were in the US and the East Coast, lived in Israel for majority of my life. And then for the last 13 years, I've been in the States and on the West Coast. So I've seen a bunch of places, and not a bunch, but a few places and cultures And I would say the time that I started thinking about startups was in university, like in college in Israel, where I studied computer science, but I think I always knew that I wanted to build a company. And I've tried to do that several times in my life. I probably started about 4 startups. 2 of them were venture backed. Guidde is my second venture backed one. But I think it's something that many people have. It's probably a lot of people have it. It's just like a matter of diving in and just like cutting the cord, which is really one of the most difficult things to do. I think after you do that once, you're able to do it. You see, it's not that hard, and then it's just like jumping and swimming for the first time. You see, you can do it. Okay, I can do it the second time as well.
Okay, so 2 venture-backed startups. But prior to that, or was this from the get-go, like right out of university, you got into the startup space?
I studied computer science, so I was a developer originally, and I think the first company I worked with was a startup. And I think outside of maybe a couple of years of my life, all the companies that I was an employee in were startups. I never liked working in a big company. Maybe I didn't do it enough, you could say, but the little I did it, I wasn't fond of it. And I prefer, even in a startup, startups become big after if they're successful. So I that part I didn't like. I preferred the 0 to 1 part, the where there's more mess, a lot more decisions that have you don't know if you're making the right decision. You just gotta move fast, and hopefully you chose right. I like those phases more in the life cycle of a startup, like the early childhood, the birth and early childhood, and maybe the teen phase rather than the adolescence phase of a company.
Would you say that that is something that naturally has always come to you? Because a lot of people could not handle the stress and the anxiety of the startup world and the way that it seems you're explaining it. It seems like it fuels you, but in reality, it can certainly give a lot of people anxiety. Otherwise, everyone would be an entrepreneur. So do you think that you were always like that?
Um, Probably. I think that part is like you could say is there is something in the DNA of people in Israel that is very catered towards that. Israel, like unlike people, having lived in both countries, both as a child and as an adult, U.S. and many other like more established countries, there is a lot of organization. So you're used to the system, being able to support you across everything, and like there's really great processes in place, and everything works really well. So you're comfortable in that environment. Israel and a lot of other countries that are younger, less structure in place. So you have to adapt. You have to always adapt. Like from childhood, you got to figure how to do things with less resources. And then that really lends itself well for startups, like especially for the early days where you don't have funding, you have to do like more with less. Like there's like nobody, you look back and there's nobody to help you out. It's going to be you, and maybe you and your co-founders, and maybe like the first few employees. Everybody has like a lot of responsibility. It's like I think the country really trains you almost by nature to do that.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. That's super cool because I've never been to Israel, and I'm still obviously in shock of what has happened over there, and it's just incredibly sad the current events of the world.
Mhm.
But I have actually connected with some founders who are from Israel, and I will say that they're all so smart and so intelligent, and all actually own venture-backed companies. So maybe you're onto something there, that there's something in the water there. But I would love to ask you your experience having 2 companies that are venture-backed. I mean, for those who are listening, I think there's such an interest in like raising money and the venture world and either becoming a venture capitalist or getting in front of one. But it's not what it's cracked up to be. A lot of founders raise money and take capital and end up having so many more people to answer to than when they were doing it on their own. So why for both of your companies did you decide to raise? How did you make those connections?
So I think like first of all, I would say any business that you create on your own is hard. You can create like a coffee shop or a restaurant. It's hard. Like it's much more difficult to do it on your own than to be paid a regular salary. That's the big leap. And all of a sudden you have the responsibility is on you. You have like nobody. It's like being a parent. You can't let go of it. Now, then you have to make a choice, like as to the way that you want to build it. Like, if you come from a rich family, which I'm not, maybe your parents can help you, raise funds for your business. And if you can afford it, cool, that's great. If you can bootstrap, if you can build a company with your own resources and you can sustain for a while, that's awesome. The less people that you have to report back to, I think it makes many things a lot easier, but not everything you can do in bootstrap. So my first company, where I was one of two founders, it was an infrastructure company, like a data infrastructure company. Those are not things that you can bootstrap. I mean, you can maybe build like a really quick prototype, but it's like capital intensive. You have to, have many engineers to build it out, and probably it's not going to be like this thing that you just like roll out like within a few weeks. So there's few alternatives to do it on your own, and kind of like the company, the idea dictates the funding that you need for it. But I think if you can build things without external money, and definitely in the beginning phases, I would do that like 99 out of 100 times. What venture money brings you, what VC money helps you to do, is if you have a business that can be you believe and your investors believe can reach scale and can get to become like a large company, it is like rocket fuel. It lets you do things faster and bigger. But the risk is that if you picked wrong and it's not a venture-backed company, it can backfire on you. So it's like, but nobody knows the answer ahead of time. So you have to, make the decision on it yourself. Is it ready for this? Is it ready for the other route? Or maybe not even do it in the first place, and then just like take the plunge.
Being or having and running a lean startup, that term lean startup, I think is really relevant to founders who are just starting, because it means, running a company before they perhaps go and get funding, but also just doing it in a way that allows you to be making money, but also not losing so much money. So your experience in the tech space and what you've done, because you have such robust tech companies, are there any mistakes you made early on that you would like to advise other founders who are just starting? Don't do this.
I think probably the biggest mistake that I've made, like I think twice, and it's kind of like, why am I not? I would say two things that I remember. So one is like how the structure of the company is going to look like geographically. Are you going to be in one place, or is it going to be like physically in the same office, especially in the beginning years, or are you going to be remote, which was like really, kind of like forced upon us because of COVID, but then became kind of like all the rage for a couple of years. I can tell you, as one that did both methods, and the first year of a company, it's doing it in the same office is going to pay a huge amount of dividends for you. It just like without doing that makes life extremely hard. There's like, you lose a lot of these like like water cooler conversations, just like you lose a lot of lines of communication. So like I said, I've tried both methods. Absolutely opt for find a founder like that you love to work with, and then be in the same office, especially in the beginning. That would be like 100% like my recommendation on that.
Are you someone who likes to work from an office every day, or you like to work from home every day?
It's funny because like I've been in working from home for probably the last 3 years, up until this week, where we actually moved into an office, and I missed it, I gotta say.
I know, I miss that too. I hate working from home because I feel like just way less inspired, and I'm a big fan of like certain areas of your life or where certain things happen and others where other things happens, and that's kind of that work life balance. How do you create that work life balance for yourself?
So my house, we actually built this little office in the backyard, and enables us, like me and my wife, to kind of like go to our virtual, like a virtual real office that we can go there. But now that we actually have an actual guide office that we can go to, like it's becoming, like, I can tell you, maybe in 2 weeks I will hate it, but right now I'm loving actually going to an office and seeing the other people on the team, for sure.
How big is the guide team?
We're about 20 people, so it's still fairly young, but we're pretty distributed. Like so, it's like we have places in weird places of the world.
So what's the day in the life like for a tech founder? You also have a co-founder.
Hmm.
And what does your day entail?
So I think it's like I think one of the great things about startups is, like, stuff changes all the time. It's like, when, especially like before you reach product market fit, you're in a lot of unknowns. You don't know, is this on us? Like, is this our problem? Are we tackling even the wrong problem, the right or wrong problem? Are we solving it the right way? There's so many things that you don't know, and kind of like the curtain unveils, like, little by little, and then the picture becomes clear. So I think we're kind of, in our perspective, we're past that phase, and now we're at kind of like a place in a company's life that you hit a few times, where you have to decide how fast do you want to go. Like, how it's like, in a poker game, do I push all the chips in and go full speed, or do I become like a bit more conservative and still like grow a bit slower and more responsibly? And it's a decision like every CEOs of large companies have to make the same decision. So for us, it's like we're trying to do it a bit more controlled, like, but at the same time, when you have external investors, they usually want the opposite. So you have to find a way to, and probably they're right on. Sometimes they bring that experience to tell you, yeah, even though you might think you're not there, you are there. Now's the time to hit the gas and just like grow fast. So you have to always make that balance. And I think we're at the phase now where both myself and Yoav, my co-founder, my partner, we're spending a lot of time on hiring right now, like on just like which we haven't been doing. We've been doing it a lot less, like maybe 6 months ago. Now it's a lot of like getting the right people on the team, the right leadership on the team, and that is hard. It takes a lot of time, and it's probably the most important decision that you can make is hiring the right people that are the right startup people. I think really difficult to find and have that proper match.
I was talking to someone earlier about how hard, I mean, I'm more of a solopreneur, but I can tell you that I find it so hard to find the proper people to hire for like so many things in like the freelance world. So hiring in general is certainly a difficult process. But you and your co-founder, how did you guys meet? Was Guide something that immediately you were like, we're going to make this? Or did it take a while for you guys to create this kind of an idea?
So one, we know each other from we've known each other for many years before. So Yoav was employee, one of our first 10 employees at my previous company at Quilt. So we worked together and we've known each other for many years. So I think first, in our case, it's like having that personal relationship and is really important. It also, because we were remote, we didn't see each other for physically like for over a year. Like it was all done over Zoom. So if you have that personal relationship, it also helps. There's trust that's there that you don't have to build. It's really important. Like it's not like we're going on a blind date and finding another co-founder. You have to build that trust. So we had that in the beginning. Now we started. That's, I think, crucial, like in any relationship. So we're kind of like, okay, we started at a great place on that front and still have it to this day. In terms of the idea, I think you can read the same thing in many blogs and startup forums. The first idea doesn't really matter. Like we had like a general direction of, we had a problem that we thought that was worthwhile solving. And we had an idea in our head of what's the right way to solve it. But even though we're still in that same problem area, the solution changed it's very different than what we initially envisioned it to be. So I think that you have to iterate a lot, like, and the only way to do that is just like go talk to customers, as many of them as you can, and hopefully like be able to narrow them down so they're like very much like the same, meaning hopefully you can say, okay, I'm selling into banks, but that's great, so I'm only going to talk to people from banks. I'm only going to talk to people in a specific persona, and just like do 30, 50 interviews until you hear the same answers to the question that you've been asking them, and then you can go ahead and start building.
So Guide is this AI tool you guys are hiring right now. What do you envision for the future of this company? And your last startup, was that acquired? Like, why did you decide to move on to this?
So my last startup is still running. It's a 14-year-old, well, yeah, soon to be 14-year-old company. It's not a startup anymore. It's like a late stage, like Series E company. It's doing well. Like I said earlier, I think for me it's about like what you like to do in life, and where you can find opportunities to learn new things. At that point, like I was there like for 9 years. They learned many things probably after I left, but it was like I was looking for just like new challenges, just learning about new industries and tackling new things. So it was like time to start from zero again for me. And I think like you have to pick what you like to do in life. Like I said, I love startups, but I love the beginning years a lot more than the later years. And probably that's what I'm good at better. Like if you put me at like how to scale like 100-person marketing team, I don't know how to do that. It's probably I'm not sure I'll like it.
Do you think your co-founder has like the opposite traits in comparison to you?
No. Well, some traits, but there's definitely things that I think he does a lot better than me. But if you look at our career path, like what we studied, what we did during our careers, it's very similar actually. So we're like kind of like if I use we like to use sports analogies like a guide. So it's kind of like we have a 2-center lineup in an NBA basketball team. So we're both product people. We're both ex-engineers. So we actually traveled very similar paths, but we are kind of like doubling down on that capability. Not, I would say, the typical, let's have like one tech founder and one business guy. We're not that. There's pros and cons to each approach. We have great product opinions, maybe too many, but we're both kind of like jack of all trades. I think that's one of the strengths of the company has.
Do you see yourself being someone who constantly is starting startups? Like you love the space that much?
I love the space that much. The thing I think with startups, even though if you can see yourself that, it's like a startup is like running a marathon, and it's hard. Like it takes a huge toll on you. Like I think like you run a marathon, it hurts your body like at some point.
Yeah.
So there's like or a boxer, there's only so many fights that you can be in. Also, it takes time. So you have to pick the ones that you love to do, and hopefully you can do this till you're very old. I don't know how many of these I've got in me, but you never know. I think like sometimes you say, man, this is like fantastic idea, or stuff like AI comes along, you say, I can't be on the sidelines when this is happening. This is like too big. And then you jump in the water. And I think like you've seen with athletes, you see this the same thing. Like you want to play for your entire life, not necessarily you can do that, like unfortunately.
Well, that's it, you guys. I hope that that explained a little bit more about the tools, not only behind AI, but also behind entrepreneurship and building multiple different companies. I love that Dan didn't necessarily have some big exit from his first one, but it was successful and he went on to build Guide. In this tech startup, you hear all the time the words acquired and an exit. Just because somebody perhaps had that kind of an experience in the startup world doesn't mean that that's something you always need to emulate as well. So I urge you to just remember that entrepreneurship is part of the journey. It is not part of the I'm frustrated, I'm giving up now, and I'm never going to do this again. You have to be as obsessed as I am, as obsessed as Dan is, to really get into the nitty-gritty of ultimate success. So that's a wrap for this episode on The New Unfiltered. Make sure to follow the show at The New Unfiltered on Instagram, as well as subscribe to Stay Fearless or Die Trying. You can get all of those links in the show notes, and have an awesome holiday if you celebrate Christmas. And I'll see you next week for a new episode of The New Unfiltered.